What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Review for Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. This is episode 17 and 18, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah, so I mean, like it's hard to say like whether or not like you can really tell if the animation's good or you feel like that there's something that should have been touched on with some of these animation scenes, particularly with fight scenes with with Sukuna and what was it, Maharaga?
Yeah, this fight scene, like most of this episode, felt really similar to the other episode with Sukuna versus Jogo, where it was just like this huge fight that took up like the entirety of Shibuya. Basically, like they were just destroying buildings. There was so much happening at once, but I feel like the difference is that you could at least keep track of what was happening, and that's in those fight scenes. Uh, this episode, like there are parts of it that I would say look pretty good and that even look great, but then there's quite a few parts that I feel like look very, I guess, rough, and it's kind of hard to make out what's happening.
Yeah,
Um,
we kind of talked about this before we started. It's about it's of course the animation production of like how they work on this and how they put this out. And we've had complaints about the whole ghosting issues in some of the previous episodes.
mhm.
Right now, like they I think for the upcoming Blu-ray release for Jujutsu Kaisen, particularly like the hidden inventory arc, they are finally addressing those issues uh by showing off. But pretty much I saw a clip of it on Twitter showing off the fight between Toji and Geto, which I didn't notice it first, but apparently it did have some amount of ghosting issues at first until
I
they
didn't notice that either.
yeah, because they finally released a brand new clip of that fight scene, which shows a slight improvement, of the animation quality.
What I wonder about this, I mean, most of this episode though, is that when it comes out on Blu-ray, like they were saying, the animators were saying that this episode was apparently only like 30% done. So I mean, I can't really see them finishing it or anything like that in the amount of time that it takes to put this out on Blu-ray. They might touch it up, but I can't really see them like actually finishing this, considering like the time constraints they were under, and how much work how much work they probably still need to do just to finish the most of this fight sequence, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, a little off topic, but yeah, we've been hearing and talking about this for several years at this point, and of course, there's still this ongoing drama with the whole with how people are having to deal with the whole production issues working on this show, not just this show, but many other shows in general. With like we literally see like some people putting out their complaints of the working conditions in Mappa for several years, including just recently, of
I feel
course.
like
Which
I feel like the main problem though is that with studios like Mappa is that they take on so many projects at once, and that might be why their animators are so overworked. Um, I mean, we know that Mappa does hire a lot of freelance animators, but I'm pretty sure they also get they probably also get a lot of the same animators to work on most of their shows. So I would imagine it's a lot of the same people probably, even though
yeah,
they might use some freelance people, I guess. But the problem is, just like I said, they have too much that they're trying to do at once, because it just seems like we always hear about Mappa doing some new project, and that they're at the same time working on like five other things. And it's, I mean, I can imagine, I'm not really surprised when this came out about the animators saying that they were overworked, because considering how much Mappa is doing, it's I can only, like I said, I can only imagine that like a lot of the animators that work there are probably just completely overworked.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like we still have like, well, now that Attack on Titan's finally over, I mean, they don't have to worry about that. But they still have
Yeah.
One Punch Man. They still have another season of Chainsaw Man.
Well,
Um,
and it's also too like there was I mean, it's funny we are talking about this, like there is a movie or an anime original movie for Netflix, I guess, that's coming out that was produced by Mappa. I forget what it was called, but it's yeah, it's it's something else that Mappa has done. And I'm just like thinking, like, how many things is Mappa going to take on at this point? Because I mean, of course, this is something that happens in the anime industry, as we know. Like there are quite a few different animation studios where their workers are probably just overworked and stressed out. But I feel like the difference with Mappa is that the amount of projects that Mappa takes on at once, and also how fast I guess that they can that they work on these projects and can put them out. Because I think I remember that was one of the reasons that Mappa took over after Attack on Titan season 3 was that they can work on like they're known I guess for putting out a series like in a fast and I guess mostly efficient manner.
Yeah.
So I think it also has something to do with it. Is they probably have pressured the animators to try to get something done as quickly as possible.
I
And
mean, we kind of see that, like, even with a lot of these episodes coming out, which we feel like, that most of them are like feel unfinished at times, like the ghosting stuff, for example. And
yeah,
and of course they end up fixing that problem once the Blu-ray release comes out. But yeah, it's just it's kind of like it's still kind of a recurring thing when we watch these episodes, particularly like episode 17, which with the with the Sukuna fight. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean
But I think so. Yeah, with this episode, like most of it was actually the Sukuna fight. I think. I mean, there was that sequence with Megumi in the beginning. Um, but yeah, most of it was the fight with Sukuna and the Mandragora. I think.
he
Yeah.
Megami was trying to fight against this curse user Haruta who
Yeah.
ended up slashing him in the back. So Megami, like without any other options, he decides to use like summon like the Maharaga to fight against Haruta. But then like Sukuna just pops in and decides to fight Maharaga on his own, which leads into an intense, like, destructive battle throughout the entire city of Shibuya. And
Mhm.
it just like literally just destroys buildings, it has massive casualties. You see many civilians getting killed in the process too.
It does kind of piss me off watching this too, and just seeing how like rough things looked, and just thinking like this could have looked so much better because it just seems like this is just epic. It's supposed to be this epic battle. Like I said, very similar to what we saw before with Sukuna versus Jogo, but I feel like that was actually a mostly finished sequence, and I feel like that was kind of it's very similar here. It feels like it's just a longer fight. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of casualties. We see a lot of people die. Uh, and of course Sukuna doesn't care. He just does whatever, he can to win the fight.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
he's pretty casual about it too. Even
yeah, I mean, of course, it seems like he's enjoying it the whole time that he's fighting this thing, and he's not really struggling against it at all. He's just, kind of. It feels like he's just playing around with it.
yeah. And soon after this, by the end of the fight, Sukuna activates his domain expansion. What was it, Malevolent Shrine, which
Yeah,
which is of course it just mercilessly slashes everything around, like I would say like over 100-meter radius, pretty much like turning like buildings, people, including Maharaga itself, like just basically just slicing him like a million times over in basically into dust.
yeah. I would be interested to know just how many people died during this fight. Like it seems like it'd probably be in the hundreds.
It would have
Yeah,
to be more than thousands or
yeah, probably
hundreds
that.
of
Yeah.
thousands of people getting killed in the process, because we see people just they're just like literally just hiding,
Well,
hiding like somewhere off, but they still end up getting killed like wherever, like they where Sukuna and Maharaga ended up fighting.
yeah, I was gonna say too, like what I find really interesting about the Shibuya arc is not only just how many people are just like killed, like but also just how many important characters are easily just killed off. I mean, that always kind of just has surprised me with each episode. I mean, well, at least characters who I assume were supposed to be important. Because of course you see I forget the guy's name, but the guy with the ponytail, that one curse user.
Yeah.
Um, he just like we hear that his ability, I guess, is that he can he has basically some kind of like luck sort of based ability where if he's on the verge of death, he something will potentially save him. Like he was saved earlier in the episode by, when Megumi, well, I think he was. Oh, I think Megumi was about to. I think Megumi was about to kill him or something, and then
Yeah.
Sukuna shows up and fights that, and fights the Maharaga.
Yeah.
Um,
Once the Maharaga ends up getting defeated, what was it the Haruta, who's the ponytail guy? As soon as the fight's over, like Haruta, somehow he looks like he manages to get away unscathed until we find out that he was just literally sliced in half through, well, from the front and back. So
yeah, we see like his face gets cut off.
yeah, so he ends up dying, and soon afterwards, Sukuna ends up giving Yuji his full control of his body again, and of course Yuji sees a crater of just utter destruction that Sukuna has caused, which and which pretty much traumatizes Yuji to the point where he just blames himself for.
I think
Yeah.
it's also because he Sukuna has been in control of his body that whole time, and he's just been killing all these people, and Yuji's just like can't deal with the fact that I guess it would kind of feel like it was him that did it when it was actually Sukuna, but he was in control of his body.
Yeah, he
Um,
he just continually just bashes on the floor until his hands bleed.
yeah,
Um,
I know people on social media were also complaining about the choice of song here because they used the opening when Yuji's having this mental breakdown, and I don't really I kind of have to agree. Like I don't really understand what the why they decided to use the opening here, because it was more so like a Yuji just having this like moment where he's just completely breaking down, and he can't handle what he feels like he's responsible for all this destruction and everything that's happened. And the opening just doesn't really feel like it fits here. I mean, people were saying they should probably have just not used any music at all, just have like no music to emphasize just how much, or just to emphasize the how Yuji's feeling at the moment. But
yeah.
it just doesn't. It just felt weird they decided to use that opening in this sequence. I mean, it feels like something that's more fit for like some kind of an action scene or something, and not a character having like a complete mental breakdown. I don't know. At least it's just how I don't know all the lyrics of the song, but just the song kind of has that feeling to it. Doesn't feel like it really fits with a scene like this.
Mhm. Uh, I mean, yeah, it's a little bit debatable about the song, about the song choice, but yeah. So,
Yeah.
but we do get to see like the end of the episode of what happened to Nanami, who's literally his the top of just like half of his body's just like half burnt, like almost like similar to like you see with Two-Face from Batman.
Yeah.
Which follows into the next episode in which we see Nanami just he's just walking down like down the subway halls, uh pretty much just like contemplating every over everything that's happened, and pretty much like he imagines himself being like in the beach of Malaysia, and it transitions him
Mm.
like him going back and forth between like him being in Shibuya and his daydream, while at the same time he's fighting against like a huge horde of transfigured humans.
Yeah. There. I mean, there is already just not to mention his physical state, but also just him having imagining him being somewhere else. There's already some like major death flags with him. And just the fact that he's walking into the middle of all these transfigured humans, just desperately fighting them. And I mean, he's even getting hurt. He's really like in no condition to fight. But he fights them anyway. And also we see earlier that, Mahito is just kind of sitting around and notices Nanami walking, and, probably ends up following him. So unless somebody can come and help Nanami, he's pretty much screwed if Mahito notices him. And he's also in the middle of all these transfigured humans,
Yeah.
in the state that he's in. Yeah, he's probably not going to make it out alive.
Well, I mean, it's obvious, like because Nanami knows he's done at this point because
Yeah, it feels like it's kind of like this is just kind of my last desperate stand, I guess, to just kind of fight all these things, and yeah, like you said, yeah, he knows he's pretty much going to die.
Yeah, and he also sees a vision of his old friend Haibara back in the inventory arc, and Yuji who ends up who happens to be there sees this happening. Like he sees Nana he watches as Nanami just walks up behind Nanami and just well before this like Nanami like he notices Yuji being there and his last words to Yuji is like he's leaving the rest up to him, and that's like where Mahito just brutally just kills him, like just basically just blowing up his entire body.
Yeah, yeah. That of course sends Yuji into just a complete just into a rage, where he just like charges at Mahito, and Mahito charges at him, and then it's just pretty much a fight, crazy fight between them ensues.
Yeah, I mean, Mahito also just deliberately just gets under her skin every single moment. Like he even taunts
Yeah.
him about what happened to Junpei back in season one.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So like, what Mahito kind of activates this like uses this sort of like some kind of like a flesh barrier or something, I guess, to crush Yuji. And it has like all these people's faces, like I guess all the people that he's killed. And I guess it's just there to kind of mess with Yuji and try to like break him down mentally or something.
Yeah,
But yeah, both Mahito and Yuji are like just is sort of like trying to slide between this, like, because I mean he's trying to crush Yuji, and I guess he doesn't really care if it crushes himself. Although I mean Mahito can just come back from it, but
yeah,
yeah, like he tries to crush Yuji to death, with this thing.
yeah. So I mean, eventually Yuji does manage to get the upper hand later, but
Yeah.
we find out later that Mahito also created a double of himself prior to this. And we find out that his other half or his second copy, wherever it is, ends up encountering Nobara out in the streets, and of course Nobara like defiantly just taunts at Mahito, and then that's where we see a fight between the two of them. So we pretty much have like two simultaneous fights going on with Yuji fighting one copy of Mahito and Nobara fighting the other one.
Now I'm not too sure about like exactly how Mahito's abilities work, but I would imagine if he's like split himself apart like that, I wonder if his fighting ability has been like cut in half or something, if his copy is fighting the other person. Um because I feel like if it were Mahito himself and he didn't do this, like I don't really feel like Nobara would stand much of a chance against him. But maybe if it's like his copy that she's fighting, maybe she might stand more of a chance, because I feel like I said, I feel like it's if it were him himself, his main body, I think Nobara would probably most likely lose that fight. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see, because I mean, as far as we know with Nobara, like she uses like the straw doll technique and the like she has those nails and stuff, like but we haven't really seen too much of her like fighting aside from that. So I don't know. It is possible that she had developed her abilities further, but I'm kind of afraid for Nobara, because I mean Mahito he's shown himself to be like one of the most powerful, one of the most powerful curse users that we've seen in the series, aside from like Geto, I guess.
Yeah, but even if somehow Yuji and Nobara ended up surviving this fight, there's still like the overall fallout of Shibuya entirely.
Well, yeah, there's already like quite a few major characters have died, and I mean, of course, Gojo himself is imprisoned. So, I mean, yeah, this is it's not really looking good for the Jujutsu sorcerers in general. So yeah, I mean, the fallout from this arc in particular is going to be pretty crazy.
I mean, it's pretty apparent that that the sorcerers have already lost this fight, because there's no winning this fight. I mean, even if they do,
yeah, I mean, right now they're just kind of fighting essentially just to survive, I guess. I mean, or just to lower that barrier, so at least the reinforcements can come help them.
Yeah, I mean, but even if they do, it's just like it's just mostly clean up duty at this point. There's nothing they can fight against.
Well,
after all that,
I feel like it's also just the the enemy had already had the upper hand. Even I mean, what was it? Mekamaru tried to warn them, but it was already too late. They had already they already started to enact their plan to lower the barrier over Shibuya, and by that point, it was pretty much already too late by the time things started because all those people already got turned into transfigured humans.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, I mean, the sorcerer's job is just to try to maintain control of the situation. But with everything getting out of hand, this is really just going to cause like a worldwide panic of sorts. Once
Yeah,
once the entire world finds out about what happened.
which I feel like might be the way that I guess Yuta might end up coming back. Is that maybe he gets wind of what happened because as
Yeah,
we know, like he's off where like I guess he's off in Mexico somewhere.
and
Um,
I think it was
or
down
South
in
America.
Kenya. Yeah, it was South
Yeah,
America. Um, yeah, but I mean, it's unfortunate that we won't see Yuta. I mean, at least not for a while. Maybe he'll show up, maybe in the finale of this season. But in terms of
mhm.
him being like a main character again, it'll likely be by season 3, of course.
Yeah, probably. The only problem, the only thing I wonder about Jujutsu Kaisen is like just the stakes being so high in this arc in particular and everything that's happened. I have to wonder like how any future arc can kind of compare to this one, with just all the crazy stuff that's happened. I mean, it just makes me wonder like what happens after this, with all these major characters that have already died. I mean, where do we kind of go from here? Um, I don't know. But I guess we'll see if we ever do get a season 3.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I don't really have too much else to say though. I don't know if you have anything else to say.
it's
Uh,
it's so far it's one of the better episodes. I mean, a little bit debatable about like the animation quality. With what was it, episode 17 in general. I mean, they could touch up on it a little bit, but um, I mean, hopefully hopefully we'll be satisfied by the end of it. But yeah, I feel like the whole uh production quality is. I think that some people working in animation are kind of running behind, you know, as evidenced by with all this stuff we keep seeing here and
mm,
there. So I mean, obviously, like I said, they are going to touch up on it for the Blu-ray release, like they're doing, fixing all the ghosting issues of the prior episodes. But yeah, it's not going to be until the home release, which the whole thing's going to be fully resolved.
yeah. But yeah, guys. So that all being said, I guess until next time, we will see you all later.